I spent 19 years in volunteering for the city of Southlake and the surrounding community and region. And what I found was that there were so many people willing to give their time to benefit others. It's amazing how many people are involved in the community, making a difference. What I found was through my time in volunteering and 19 years in the city, through city council and mayor, many people came up and asked me two questions. One was why, and the other one was how do you do it? The whys were always kind of funny because they had two different approaches. One was, why was I so crazy as to want to do that in a volunteer role for so many years? And so I would give them my list of reasons of why. The other was those folks that came in and said, why? Truly curious about the reasons why I would want to develop and volunteer for so many years, giving back to a community and trying to make a difference. And that other question was how? Those folks that were really curious wanted to know if they had the desire to do it themselves, how could they go about involving themselves in a community? So I start with why. I always want to tell them why I got involved. And one is to give back to others. There are so many people, again, in our community that give back. And it is an inspirational thing to watch people as they give to others. Those that are less fortunate. One of those organizations in town, and there are many, is the Miracle League. And Miracle League takes volunteers and they work with mentally and physically handicapped children to provide them the opportunity to play baseball. It's an amazing thing. It's working for others. And what you see is an entire community drawn around working for others. It's not just about those children and providing them that opportunity. If you think about it, we have youth athletes that aren't physically and mentally handicapped. They come in and volunteer their time. And then you look at the stands. And in the stands are the parents of those children. They don't have an opportunity. Their time is spent constantly working with mentally and physically handicapped children. When do they have the chance to see their child play like a normal kid? So giving back to others, that's just one opportunity to do it. The other is a little bit more selfish. It's about personal growth. When you're working with the community and you're volunteering, you're constantly learning. You're learning how to develop a city. You're learning how to work with people. You're learning communication skills. There's a number of things that give back to you when you are trying to make a difference for a community. Then there's commitment. Notice up on the screen, this slide actually wasn't in there until just a little while ago. Talk about commitment. A local family, neighbors who have actually been the MCs and folks for this particular event. They live next door to me. They spent the last 9 months pulling together a special project as a family to give back to a community. They believed that, hey, we're the city of Southlake and we haven't done a TED Talk. Why not? Let's make it our project. That's commitment. They came together as a family to do something for the common good of our community. You know, too, you have the opportunity to be an advocate for others, those that can't speak for themselves. You also can advocate for ideas that you have. When you get involved, you certainly have a concept of where you want a city to be. And you get to advocate for those as you try to make a difference for a community. You've got something in mind. Those ideas may change over time as you listen to others, but you get to be that advocate and advocate for your entire community. It's also about the ability, the why do you want to do this, is to protect those around you and defend your community through amazing work with making sure that you have your police and fire operational, functional, doing a great job. But it goes beyond, those are the obvious things. It goes to that next door neighbor who needs some care. It's working with your community to defend people that cannot defend themselves. To stand up when something that is happening in a community, it may be land use planning. It may be somebody that has just been attacked for no particular reason on social media, and you stand up to defend them. There are so many different ways to make a difference in a community. It can be something as along the lines of you have various social interests. You want to protect the environment. You want people to experience nature. And so you get involved with something like our Bob Jones Nature Center to make certain that you bring that to the highest level that it can be. You turn it into a training program for kids in the schools. You turn it into a wildlife protection area so that there is a place in a growing city where you get to go see wildlife and nature untouched. International relations. There are many in our community. We have sister cities programs that make a difference, not just here, but abroad. We send our students to exchange groups so that they can learn the cultures of other countries. Between Tomei, Japan, and Suzhou, China, we've had numerous student exchange programs where those students have come here to see what we do and how we do it and share amongst each other, taking back stories and ways of life and living, making a difference both here and abroad. Involvement. You know, involvement, I don't know of another city more involved than the city of Southlake. Everyone seems to have something that they are in love with and that they get involved with. Our Southlake Women's Club actually runs the Art in the Square. That's an entire volunteer organization that puts on the 8th largest arts festival in the country. That's why we're doing all sorts of things for the arts as well. It brings people to a new appreciation of what can be. It also helps our community in terms of a revenue generation, a tourist attraction. Those are the whys that we're making a difference for our community. And then one of my favorites is for my kids. And I think that holds true for many people in our community. You can see that with our Carroll School District and Protect the Tradition. When we moved here 20 years ago, 21 years ago, that was one of the main reasons we moved to a community. And the why. It was because we wanted our children to grow up in a place where we knew we could make a difference. It already had some incredible, great basis. But that's why I got involved and why many people get involved. It's to make a better place for their children. It's to not just make the better place, but to be examples to your children of how to be involved and how they can make a difference. The city of Southlake is an amazing community, and it's one that tries to make a difference not just within its boundaries, but outside of its boundaries as well. If you're going to get involved, you've got to speak up. So many people have ideas, but they don't share them. This community's changed. Back from the late 90s, this was a rural community. There was a pig farm where Southlake Town Square is currently located. It is now one of the highest tax revenue generating locations in our entire city. Things change. People have ideas and new ideas, and as youth grow up, we need those new ideas to keep up with the rest of the planet. So another thing to me that is the how. And it makes a difference in how effective you are in making a difference. And that's part of our civil discourse. Everybody in here has seen the news. And it doesn't matter what channel you watch. The country is having a problem with communication. And a lot of making a difference is about how you communicate. It's respecting others. You need to figure out, and this community needs to figure out, and it's one of the things that I try to do all the time. While I was mayor, you heard from different individuals with opposing ideas. It's one of the reasons they asked me, why would I ever do this? When there was 50% of a community saying yes to something and 50% of a community saying no, you have to be able to figure out how to provide the proper civil discourse. Why is it that people cannot have civil discussions today with anybody who has an opposing belief? You can't reach a conclusion or an agreement or even figure out a path forward if all you are doing is shouting at each other from two different positions. First, you have got to listen to who else is speaking. If you're not listening, you do not understand the position that they're taking. And you can't address that position unless you know what they're thinking and what they're saying. So don't just hear it, truly listen. You need to respect the person who is speaking to you or the group that is speaking to you. If you don't have respect and start out with disrespect, then that other person is never going to listen to anything you have to say, and they will not respect you back. That does not allow you to get any closer on those decisions and in the conversation. Avoid hostility. Don't yell at each other. If you can't keep a calm tone and persona, that is one of the things that is absolutely critical to being on a city council making decisions. People come up in front of the podium and many times will be very, very passionate and hostile about a particular position. You cannot communicate a position well when you are yelling at someone. So you must avoid the hostility as you try to go down that road. Don't immediately jump to judgment and put on someone else what their intent or what their reasoning is for their position. Don't jump to a judgment. And the reason you don't jump to that judgment is because you truly need to experience or appreciate their experience. You don't know what shoes those people have been walking in. They have differences of where they came from, what their upbringing was. They have something that may have just occurred to them recently that gives them a position and an experience different than anyone else in the room. Understand and appreciate that people come from different places and they are going to have different views. Then, to make that difference, you have to consolidate those and then figure out what is the best choice for a city using what you can inside, both from your heart and your mind, to lead it. To make that difference too, you can't just be a good personality. You actually have to think and make good decisions. And good decisions are sometimes in the eye of the beholder when you have differing views. So you have to be courageous enough to stand up for and be able to communicate to others who come from that different position why you are taking the position that you are. Because if you're only taking a position because you think it is what your party wants you to do, and you don't have the fundamentals on that, you're also going to lose them. I come back to listen because I believe it's the most important thing about communication. You have got to listen not with the intent to reply. Don't be thinking about what you're going to say next to counter what they have said. You need to listen with the intent to understand. A couple of misconceptions. You do not, to have civil discourse, you don't have to compromise on your beliefs. You can hold those beliefs, but also be open to what those beliefs and the thoughts are from someone else. I have found that my fundamental beliefs have not changed significantly over time, but some of my decisions and thoughts about various aspects have changed because someone brought a new view that was contrary and something I might not have heard of before. Additionally, don't critique. It says you can't criticize the positions of others. Absolutely, if you disagree, you may criticize. Just do it in a civil way. Stay informed. In order to move forward and make that difference, you've got to stay informed. You need to know the facts. Don't just get up, take a position without knowing those facts. Also, stay involved with their community calendar. It tells you what is happening across the community, who's involved. Events like this show up as well. And then finally, the how. Do you make a difference? The easiest way. It's a fundamental right of our community. Go vote. And do it with an understanding of who is running. Don't take party lines. Understand those people. Not are they attractive, not are they just good speakers, but do they have good ideas? There's a little story. There's an elderly man, and he's walking down a beach. And he sees this young man off in the distance looking like he's dancing. But as he gets closer to the young man on the beach, he sees that he's not dancing. He asks the young man, "What are you doing?" And the young man says, "Well, I'm throwing these starfish back to the water because the tide's gone out." And the older man says, "Well, why in the world are you doing that? Are you looking down the beach? There's miles of starfish. There's no way that you're going to be able to save them. What difference are you going to make?" And the boy picks up one more starfish and throws him into the water. He said, "I might not have made a difference for everyone, but that starfish, I made a difference." So I know, and you know, that you might not be able to make a difference for everybody, but everyone in this room and everybody in this community has the opportunity and the ability to make a difference. You just have to go out and do it. Thank you.